In the chronicles of human history, few deaths have been as haunting, drawn-out, or grimly symbolic as the final days of Isabella of Castile, the queen who unified Spain, expelled entire peoples, shattered kingdoms, and reshaped the fate of continents. Her end was not quiet, nor did it come with the serene dignity typical of monarchs drifting into legend. Instead, Isabella's demise was slow and suffocating, an intimate collapse of the very body that had once carried an empire on its back. Imagine a sovereign whose will could bend nobles, nations, and popes, now trapped in a bed she could no longer rise from. Her abdomen swollen with infection and her organs inflamed and failing one by one. A queen whose flesh betrayed her even as her mind remained painfully awake. Before we delve into Isabella's life and death, I emphasize the importance of subscribing to Rotten Ages and leaving a comment. It truly means a lot. Let's begin. Isabella of Castile reigned from 1474 to 1504, carving her name into the foundations of early modern Europe. She conquered Granada, funded Columbus's journey, reformed the treasury, restructured the army, and imposed religious purification with an iron will that terrified and reshaped her world. Isabella unified a fragmented realm and bound two crowns, Castile and Aragon, into a single emerging monarchy that would soon dominate half the globe. Yet this same woman expelled Jews and Muslims, forced conversions, and unleashed the Inquisition. Piety and severity coexisted in her, each ruling her realm through the other. Mercy and ruthlessness found their home in her rule. Chroniclers adored her, acknowledging her dualities. Isabella was indeed a storm, disguised as a queen. Her public legend speaks of marble resolve and a woman armored by faith and purpose. However, her private reality was far frailer a body, worn thin by pregnancies, miscarriages, grief, and the heavy weight of sovereignty. 8 pregnancies had transformed her from within. Years of fasting and religious austerity had diminished her physical strength. As she aged, signs of strain became apparent. Her complexion paled, her chest tightened frequently, and the fierce vitality that once burned brightly in her began to dim. Isabella worked long into the night, even when the fever shadowed her face. The illness that consumed her began subtly, as many mortal afflictions do. A discomfort low in her belly that she initially dismissed, a lingering fatigue she attributed to prayer and duty, and sharp pains that flared during court sessions, but faded when she steadied herself against a table. For years her ladies observed the signs: weakness when rising, a tremor in her hands, and bouts of fever. Yet Isabella tolerated them, considering them mere burdens sent from God. Modern medical historians suggest she suffered from a deep pelvic infection, perhaps a chronic abscess of the uterus or ovary, or a slowly spreading peritonitis worsened by the toll of childbirth and the harsh medical treatments of her era. However, the exact terminology matters less than the lived reality. This was no passing illness. It was a relentless internal siege tightening its grip around her. To understand the shattering nature of her decline, one must grasp the extraordinary force behind her rise. Isabella seized the Castilian throne amidst a whirlwind of alliances, battles, and political gambles. She outmaneuvered supporters of her half-brother, forged a marriage that reshaped Europe, and led troops in armor when the occasion required. Chroniclers described her as tireless, walking among plague victims without fear, even when pregnant, pushing her court and her own body beyond their limits. But the same intensity that drove her triumphs eventually exhausted her flesh. The first real warning came during the siege of Granada in the winter of 1491, when she suffered a terrible fever. Rumors rippled through the camp that she might die. Physicians whispered that her stomach and womb were inflamed. Yet she recovered, or at least appeared to. The scars of that fever, though invisible, lingered deep inside her. A decade later, the pain returned, sharper and more insistent. Isabella felt something shifting within her, a heaviness that made her breath short, and a throbbing ache that seemed to pulse with her heartbeat. Her appetite faltered and sleep became fractured. She hid these troubling symptoms from her court, fearing any sign of weakness. However, she confided in her confessor, sharing that something within her burned hot as iron. He attributed it to a divine trial, and she accepted this explanation far too easily. Her physicians prescribed the usual remedies: purgatives to cleanse the humors, bloodletting to release heat, and herbal baths aimed at alleviating female ailments. None of these helped. Perhaps they even worsened her state. The internal inflammation deepened, her abdomen became tender to the touch, and the fevers came more frequently. But Isabella persevered, holding counsels from her bed and pushing through rituals even when her voice trembled with pain. By 1503, Isabella's ladies could no longer ignore the signs. When she stood, she leaned against furniture. When she knelt, they had to lift her afterward. The normally vigorous queen moved with the slow caution of someone terrified that something within might rupture. Though she dismissed it all as the ordinary suffering of age alone, could not explain the way she doubled over in pain behind closed curtains or pressed her hand to her abdomen, a look of dread crossing her face, an expression her attendants would never forget. As her health declined, the emotional toll of her children's deaths, first Juan, then Isabel, then Miguel, broke something within her. For the first time, even her seasoned counselors glimpsed hesitation in her decisions. Chronic stress, modern doctors propose, can exacerbate internal inflammation and weaken immunity, hastening decay. Then, in early 1504, the pain sharpened into an acute condition she could no longer bear. Chroniclers vaguely described it as a malady of the bowels, but their euphemism obscured the truth of violent internal infection, possibly an abscess swelling with infected fluid. When such an abscess ruptures, the poison spills into the abdominal cavity, leading to peritonitis, septic shock, and agonizing death. Isabella felt a jarring shift within her, though she never articulated it. One night she screamed loud enough for the guards to rush in. Claiming it was just a cramp, she later lay gasping for breath. Her fever soared, her abdomen hardened like stone. Inside her, though unspeakable, she sensed a release followed by an ignited pain that felt relentless. The queen, who had endured childbirth without a sound, now winced at every movement, unable to sit without stabbing discomfort, unable to lie fully flat. As Isabella's suffering deepened, her court shifted cautiously around her, silently working like a grand machine trying to function while its core collapsed. The formidable queen, who once rode through snowstorms to rally her armies, now struggled to move from her bed to a chair. With each small gesture, flames of pain rippled through her abdomen, a torment she attempted to mask until it became impossible to hide. Her fever surged relentlessly, fluctuating between simmering heat and an overwhelming blaze. Sweat soaked her linen sheets, and her ladies fought to cool her with damp cloths, which quickly warmed against her burning skin. Physicians whispered of corrupted humors and inflammation of the innards, yet none dared utter the word sepsis, a concept they could sense but not name. They tried to drain her with purgatives and cool her with bleeding, but her body resisted their efforts vehemently. Instead, her abdomen began to swell uncompromisingly, as though something inside had grown beyond its limits. When the physicians pressed her belly, Isabella winced, her breath hitching. They detected resistance beneath their fingertips, a hardness that had not previously existed. The infection advanced. Pockets of trapped fluid and decay encroached upon her peritoneum. Every breath stretched tissue already screaming with inflammation. Her appetite vanished entirely. Food, even broth, turned nauseating. A dry, coated tongue tasted bitterness that no wine or water could wash away. Yet she remained lucid enough to continue her royal duties, though her strength waned with each passing week. Long sessions exhausted her. She paused between sentences, catching her breath, waiting for the pain to subside before speaking again. Simultaneously, political factions sharpened around her like blades. With Isabella bedridden, power began to leach outward. Ferdinand, her husband and co-ruler, grew restless. Without her moral authority and sharp judgment, he feared losing influence over Castile. Nobles subtly aligned themselves with various factions. Whispers echoed through the halls, "Is the queen dying? Who will rule when she stops breathing?" Isabella sensed the shifting tides. She attempted to maintain control, issuing decrees, settling disputes, even adjusting succession matters, but her body betrayed her. There were days when she drifted in and out of awareness, her words slurred, and even simple efforts to speak became monumental challenges. Her ladies noticed the subtle changes first: yellowing skin, bruised shadows beneath her eyes, and rapid, shallow breaths despite her stillness. Her fluctuating pulse, sometimes erratic and fluttering, at other times faint and thready, hinted at septic shock, though no one in 1504 could name it. There were nights when Isabella gripped the sheets in agony, teeth clenched, sweat beading on her lips, murmuring that something inside felt ablaze. Her confessor, sitting beside her, believed her to speak poetically, but the reality was painfully literal. Her peritoneum was inflamed, the infection spreading, poisoning her bloodstream. Some chroniclers later softened the truth, claiming she bore her illness with serene piety, when, in fact, there were moments she cried out involuntarily, startled by the sharpness of her abdominal agony. Her ladies rushed to comfort her, adjusting pillows and easing her position, yet there was no sweet relief. The infection had burrowed too deeply. By late autumn, her condition worsened dramatically. Her belly distended, the skin thinned, and the slightest touch sent her recoiling in pain. Breathing became a struggle, reduced to short, shallow breaths. The chamber grew heavy with the sickly scent of fever and decay. Although her mind remained sharp at times, it began to drift. She summoned her long-dead daughter Isabella and confused the ongoing state of affairs with memories from her past, leading to the siege of Granada. Nurses gently reminded her of the present, and she would nod, as if waking from a dream, though delusion crept through the cracks of her failing body. Isabella clung to governance, attempting to revise her while even amidst waves of nausea and pain. She insisted on recognizing Joanna's right to inherit the Castilian crown, despite her daughter's emotional instability, believing it was her realm, her lineage, and her legacy to shape. This decision angered Ferdinand, but Isabella was resolute. Each declaration cost her another ounce of life, a testament to her unyielding spirit. However, the strain of these conversations left her trembling. Fever spiked, her hands shook uncontrollably, and her abdomen throbbed under pressure that grew heavier with each passing hour. Physicians prescribed enemas, purgatives, and bloodletting of ever-increasing intensity. Nothing alleviated her suffering. Her stool became loose and watery, a desperate attempt by her body to purge toxins from its compromised system. Each occurrence weakened her more. Meanwhile, her urine darkened to deep amber, a sign her kidneys were faltering under septic load. Her pulse raced and fluttered erratically, alternating between rapid and thready. Even as her core burned with fever, her skin grew cold, reflecting the terrifying contradictions of her breakdown. Night after night, her chamber became a sanctum of whispers, incense, and the unsettling glow of her fever, creating an atmosphere thick with illness. The air felt saturated, pressing heavily around her as candle flames flickered without drafts, mirroring the trembling limbs of the queen. Outside her room, courtiers gathered silently, lurking like vultures over a battlefield, watching, waiting, both fearful and eager for the inevitable unfolding. For the very first time in her life, Isabella faced an opponent she could not conquer through sheer will, prayer, or political brilliance. The infection spreading through her abdomen had set its deadly course, one that could not be halted by any ally or decree. And deep down, as she continued to fight, she knew that by early November, her condition had deteriorated far beyond what her physicians believed possible. The infection that had simmered for months, perhaps years, now surged through her abdomen with savage force. What began as a hushed inflammation morphed into a roaring internal fire, swelling her belly until even the slightest movement made her gasp. Her fever transformed into a relentless blaze, no longer wavering but continuously raging behind her skin. Her cheeks flushed crimson, her eyes watered incessantly, and her cracked lips matched the dryness of her throat. Sweat gathered profusely along her collarbone, dampening linens that required changing repeatedly. The chamber then reeked of fever, the sour metallic scent clinging to the dying, impervious to the incense trying in vain to disguise it. Her abdomen had hardened in a manner that her physicians struggled to comprehend. To them, it signified a swelling of corrupted humors. To modern eyes, however, it was starkly apparent, the peritoneum inflamed, infectious fluid gathering in her cavity, organs suffocated by swelling and seeping decay. With every breath, a tightness surged, pulsating in time with her heartbeat never easing. When she attempted to straighten her back, Cries of agony erupted involuntarily. Pain radiated upward into her chest, distorting her breath, while downward it shot into her hips, rendering her incapable of standing without help. Whenever servants attempted to reposition her, she clutched their hands with remarkable strength, as if bracing against an oncoming wave of suffering. They limited the frequency of adjustments. She preferred the torment of immobility to the agony of motion. Her bowels turned violent and regular, perhaps in a futile attempt to rid toxins. Each episode only furthered her weakness. Meanwhile, her urine darkened ominously, a clear indication that her kidneys were suffering under the weight of sepsis. Her pulse, a reminder of fleeting stability, fluctuated, racing and falling like the tide, raising alarm among her caretakers. Her skin cooled while her core persisted at an intense heat, a contradiction that left her physicians in quiet panic. Isabella's agony, once wrapped in royal resolve, crumbled into whispers of uncertainty. Each day bled into the next, until it became nearly impossible to discern where one agonizing moment ended and the next began. Yet she fought on, a queen bound by duty, even as her body whispered final goodbyes. What remained of Isabella of Castile would be a legacy shaped by an unyielding spirit, etched into the annals of history, a powerful queen whose mortality serves as a reminder that even the greatest can fall prey to the merciless grip of human frailty. And thus, Isabella's life, marked by incredible victories and harrowing losses, came to a close. Her death revealed the harsh reality of a woman who wore the weight of her empire upon her shoulders, an emperor, reduced to mere flesh, grappling with the tragic impermanence of life and legacy.